I'm pregnant. And when I announced it to my family, I thought everybody would be happy. Well, it seemed everyone was happy. Until my sister-in-law, I noticed she was a little upset. That is not even the beginning of this story. This is a nightmare sister-in-law, and it's crazy. I met my husband Charles at a charity event in the city. He was one of the attendees, and I was helping out with the event management team of the occasion. I recall being impressed by his good looks. He had piercing blue eyes, black hair, and an unmistakable air of self-assurance. He was attractive, well-groomed, and had a smile that could brighten up the space. We bumped into each other near the bathrooms and immediately got to talking. As I got to know him better, I understood that his attractiveness was only a pigment of the package. He was compassionate, giving, and hilarious. He always volunteered to help those in need, and he had a heart of gold. He drew me in. And before I realized it, we became close. As our relationship evolved, I learned that he was also very passionate. He had a strong sense of purpose and justice and was determined and ambitious. He was the kind of person who, no matter what life threw at him, never gave up. Everything about him inspired me, and I wanted to stand by his side for life. After 6 months of dating, he proposed to me one evening while we were watching the sunset over the water. My heart skipped a beat, and there was no doubt in my mind I said yes to his proposal. Soon after, we got married, and I was incredibly happy to start a new journey with Charles. Despite my joy, I was apprehensive when I first visited my husband's family's residence. I had known that he was wealthy, but I had not known the extent of his wealth. I was frightened that they were going to be like typical rich, snobby families. However, as soon as I entered the mansion, I was welcomed with wide arms and friendly smiles. Everyone was incredibly welcoming, and I felt right at home. My father-in-law, Walter, was a nice and considerate man. He spoke of his sons with great pride and loving tones. I rapidly came to the conclusion that he was not at all like I had thought him to be. There was nothing stereotypical about this man. My husband's mother-in-law, Emma, was also incredibly friendly. She took me under her wing at once, and she was a kind, caring woman with a motherly smile. She made sure I was at ease while she gave me a tour of the property, introduced me to the employees, and showed me about the gardens and the estate. I had the pleasure of meeting my husband's twin brother, Frank, and his wife, Camille. They were a cute couple, and their amiable demeanors drew me in right away. They pestered me with questions about my life, and I appreciated how they made me feel like a member of their family. I took the following several days to get to know everybody. The fact that we're all so close-knit and loving surprised me, but in a good way. I could tell they had a close relationship since they were always there for one another. I was excited to get to know them and get the chance to be a member of such a lovely family. As the days passed, I felt more at peace with my new family. I enjoyed talking to my husband's mother about her life and experiences through our time together. I enjoyed getting to know Frank and Camille and was grateful for their advice and help in all matters of my life. My initial thoughts on my husband's family were largely favorable. They were warm, friendly, kind, and I instantly felt at home. They welcomed me with open arms, and I was appreciative of that. I also realized that I've discovered a second family that I would treasure for the rest of my life. A few months later, I had a sudden suspicion that I was pregnant because, I'd been feeling strange for a few days. I vomited and threw up a few times, and I decided to buy a pregnancy test. My heart was pounding while I was watching the test strip. When the 2 pink lines eventually showed, I was certain I was expecting it. I was overjoyed at the test results and wanted to share my good news with my husband, so I quickly called him. Although he was at work, he answered the phone at once. After greeting me, he asked me what's wrong. I excitedly told him that I've taken a pregnancy test and it's come back positive. We were expecting a baby. There was a brief pause, then I heard my husband's ecstatic reaction. He declared that he was fantastic about it and the news was overjoying, and that he was coming home at once to see me. We kissed and hugged each other when we got home before sitting down to discuss the pregnancy. We were both ecstatic and eager to begin making preparations for the baby. We discussed the baby's first birthday celebrations, the nursery, and possible names. Everything was so amazing. A few days later, we made the decision to inform my husband's family of the wonderful news by throwing them a surprise party. Everyone was invited to join us for dinner, and as we were about to sit down, my husband got up and made a toast. He smiled. "I have some news. We're going to have a baby." We all congratulated each other. Charles' parents cried and hugged each other, each of us in turn. It was a fantastic moment, and I was very appreciative to be a part of the family that's so kind. One individual, though, did not appear to be ecstatic as the others. That was Camille. She gave me a hug and a grin, but her actions seemed forced. She didn't seem to feel the joy she was portraying, and everything about her reaction just seemed off to me. Over the next few days, I couldn't help but think about my husband's brother's wife. I could not shake the feeling that there was something wrong. So naturally, I decided to talk to my husband about it. "I think something's bothering Camille," I said. "I think she's unhappy about the pregnancy." My husband looked thoughtful for a moment and said, "I'm not sure, but I'll talk to her and see what's going on." A few days later, Charles brought up the topic again and said she's just a little upset. She's been trying to get pregnant for a while now, and it's just been unexpected for her. Us announcing the pregnancy and all. I felt a bit of guilt pierce through my heart. I've been so wrapped up in my own happiness that I hadn't even thought about how many pregnancies might affect others. "I'm so sorry," I said, "and I had no idea." "Don't worry about it," my husband replied. "I'm sure she'll come around. And in the meantime, we'll just make sure she knows how much we care about her." Well, that seemed like a solid plan, and that was exactly what we did. We made sure Camille was included in everything and made sure she knew how much we cherished and adored her. After a few weeks, I had completely forgotten about the whole topic with Camille. One day, we were all seated in the living room having supper and conversations during the 3rd month of my pregnancy when she abruptly blurted out, "I have some great news. Well, I'm expecting." Everyone was startled, but delighted for her. But I don't know, I had this odd feeling. I made an effort to hold back my discomfort and express my happiness for her. But I could not get rid of the uneasy feeling I had. Charles hugged her and said, "Oh, that's great news. We're overjoyed for you." "Me too," I sputtered and added, "I can't wait to have 2 little cousins running around together." "Thanks," Camille replied, smiling back at me. "I'm really excited as well." I observed that my sister-in-law's smiles did not extend to her eyes while we talked. She didn't seem like the typical warm and kind person I knew her to be. She appeared distant and chilly. Strange events began to occur shortly after that. My meals would start to taste strange all of a sudden, and my drinks would have something in them that made me queasy. I began to feel ill and lightheaded, and I had a strange feeling of my sister-in-law was the culprit. One day, my foot caught on something, almost sending me flying down the stairs, and when I looked around, I saw that my sister-in-law had purposefully blocked my path with a box. Luckily, I wasn't really hurt, but I did not know that she was trying to induce a miscarriage until then. Her attempts to induce a miscarriage progressively grew riskier as the pregnancy progressed. My sense of being insistently watched and having my every move watched grew worse. I tried mentioning it to Charles and Emma a few times, but they just brushed off my concern and said that the pregnancy hormones were just playing tricks on my mind. Another time, she offered to take me out for a drive. I agreed, thinking that it would be a nice break from the stress at home. But as soon as we got in the car, I knew something was wrong. The road we turned on was bumpy, and additionally, she was driving fast, trying to jostle me around in my seat. I remained calm and held on, clutching my seatbelt tightly, but I could feel my baby starting to kick and squirm inside me. I begged her to slow down, but she just laughed and sped up even more, saying that she liked the thrill. I was terrified that I was going to lose my baby due to sheer fright and adrenaline. Finally, I managed to convince her to pull over and let me out. I was shaking and crying as I stumbled out of the car and back to the safety of the still ground. Yet another time, She tried to make me slip and fall. She left things lying around the house where I was sure to trip over them. She even tried to make me trip on the wet driveway outside the home. I was always on high alert, constantly looking down, checking my shoulders. The stress was starting to get to me. But the worst part was when she starts to play with my mind. Yeah, that's right. She would make indirect comments about how she hoped I would not have a healthy baby, or how she thought it would be better if I did miscarry. She tried to make me worry and stress about my pregnancy, hoping that it would cause me to miscarry. I confronted her about it multiple times, but she just laughed it off and denied it, saying that my baby brain was getting to me. I wasn't sure what to do at this point, but I knew that I could not let her hurt me or my child. So, I decided to take matters into my own hands and get my own sort of revenge. I started to gather evidence, keeping track of all the strange things that were happening to me. I knew I needed proof if I was going to expose this sick sister-in-law for what she's doing. One day, seems like I caught her in the act. I was in the kitchen making breakfast when she came in, tried to slip something into the food. I confronted her and she finally admitted to what she was doing. I say, "Why are you doing this?" demanding. "Why are you trying to hurt me and my baby?" Her response was quite chilling. "Because I want what's best for my husband and my future child," she said, sounding cold and calculating. Her well-constructed mask will finally come off. "I need to make sure that I have the most children so that I can secure my place in the family and get a bigger share of the inheritance." I was absolutely shocked and sickened by her admission. Such a horrifying thing never even crossed my mind. I knew at that moment I had to act fast to stop her from hurting me or my baby any further. There was something odd I noticed about her visits to the doctor. She made sure that Frank was always too busy to go with her, and that she went alone. This struck me as very strange, and I decided to follow her one day to find out why. So, I arrived at the clinic early from her appointment and waited outside the room until I heard her voice. I crept closer to the door and listened carefully, peeking through the crack. What I heard made my blood run cold. "So, doctor, you're sure that everything's going according to plan?" my sister-in-law asked. Yes, just like we discussed. We've got that fake belly and ultrasound images ready, and the woman we hired to carry the baby. She's here." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My sister-in-law was faking her pregnancy and she'd hired someone else to carry the baby for her. I felt my anger boil inside me. How could she do this to me and my baby, to the whole family? "Good God," my sister-in-law said, sounding pleased. "I just want to make sure that everything goes smoothly. I can't wait to bring the baby home and show everybody. I can't have anything go wrong. Do you understand, doctor?" Well, I waited until they were finished with the appointment and then confronted my sister-in-law right to her face. "What are you doing? Why are you faking your pregnancy?" "What are you talking about?" she feigned innocence. "I've heard everything, the whole conversation with the doctor," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "You're lying to the whole family, trying to pass off someone else's baby as your own." "Oh, it's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think, and I won't stand for it. You're going to pay for what you're doing." I was going to make sure that she would never be able to fool anybody again. As soon as I found out about my sister-in-law's plan to fake her pregnancy, I knew I had to be careful. I had a feeling that she would stop at nothing to get what she wanted. My first step was to the doctor who was helping her fake the pregnancy. I threatened him. I told him that I was going to report him to the police and the local medical board for violations of ethic code, and convinced him to give me the woman's number who was going to carry the baby for my sister-in-law. The next thing I did was track her down. Well, her name was Andy, and she was this poor single mother of 2 children. When I confronted her, telling her that I knew what she was doing, she broke down crying. She said that she just needs the money my sister-in-law was paying so she could afford to rent, and well, the school fees are also here for the kids. I comforted her. I told her that, hey, I could help her pay out the money if she agreed to expose my sister-in-law's secret in front of my family. She thanked me, saying that she did not want to do it in the first place and had only agreed to the money. I planned a Sunday lunch for the family and made sure to invite everybody. During the dinner, I made sure to lavish praise on my sister-in-law, telling everyone that I was sure she's going to be a great mother, and I was excited to raise our kids together. I pretended to get all emotional and asked her if I could hug her. She seemed unqueasy, very uneasy, by my behavior, but could not say anything in front of the family. Oh no. She stood up and approached me. As soon as she was near, I put my hands on her belly and tugged. The fake belly that she'd been wearing dislodged and came off. There were gasps all around. Well, everyone was shocked by the turn of events, and I turned to my family and announced that she's been faking her pregnancy all along, and she's been lying to all of us. My sister-in-law tried to deny my words. Just then, I had Andy walk in. This is the moment she told everyone about my sister-in-law's entire plan, and how she's made a deal with her to pay for her baby. My sister-in-law had been exposed for the first liar that she was. Angrily, very angrily, she said that it was all my fault, and that if I've gotten pregnant, none of this would have happened. She said that she was forced to take drastic measures as she thought that she had her husband, and, well, they would lose their chance to get a large share of the inheritance. The family couldn't believe what she'd have said. They were simply devastated. He told her that he had always loved her, and he had not minded that they did not have children. His love for her and his family was enough for them. She starts crying and said that she was sorry, and she begged everybody for forgiveness. However, at this moment, her husband said that she's broken his trust. He could not forgive her. He told her to leave the house right away and that he was going to divorce her. As for me, I had my baby, and my husband and I received a large share of the inheritance. My sister-in-law's plan, well, it backfired, and I was the one who came out on top. I was proud. I was proud of myself for being smart, resourceful, and I was grateful to have my husband and our new baby right here by my side. I'm not surprised one bit that the sister-in-law's husband divorced her. This lady was off her rocker. What in the world? How can you even get a doctor involved in this type of shenanigans? Guys, let me talk about it with you in the comment section. Everybody drop your opinion down below. And if you've ever had a baby, has anybody ever came across a jealous friend that seems to be happy, but you know deep down that they're just jealous that they're not pregnant? Let me know your thoughts about this one, guys. Go ahead and drop your opinions. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I do stories every single day. If that's something you're into, you know what to do, guys. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one.